Thank you all for coming and participating in raising the flag to replace the flagpole that was originally put here. I think it was Todd Hammond who put the original pole here, but then this one has been made special for the schoolhouse, and we will introduce the person who created it, who made it, for the town in just a minute. But first, I would like to invite Michael Daniels Demers, as chairman of the Selectmen in Oxford, to say a few words.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. And Lieutenant Cummings, thank you very much for putting this together and having us out here today. It's really important that we, preserve the history of this town. And this new flagpole that we have with the schoolhouse really just adds to the vibrant history that this town does have. So I'd like to thank everybody that took part in today's ceremony and the flag itself. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce our town manager, Jennifer Callahan.
Thank you, Mr. Cribb. It's really an exciting day to be here. I want to thank everyone who has been instrumental, our DPW staff who are here on Saturday to make sure that this flag real fittingly gets put in a proper place and is level and will be here for many, many years. It's been almost 2 years, right? 2 years Mr. Cribb had come out and met with the Board of Selectmen, myself, about wanting to donate a beautiful flagpole, and that was in October of 2020. And COVID and everything else had put a little bit of a delay to that, but we're so excited on the eve of our Memorial Day parade and Memorial Day festivities that we'll have this beautiful, beautiful flagpole. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that Mr. Cribb spent a lot of time on this, and his wife is here, and I'm sure she had to call him in a few times to go to sleep as he was honing it, but also their grandson, Noah, come here. I would like to give him some credit. This is their grandson who helped his grandfather actually do this, and what did you do, Noah?
I painted it.
You painted it. Do you think you'll come back and go to school here someday?
Yeah.
Oh, see, we already have a new student. Miss O'Reilly would be very happy about that. Do you like doing this kind of work with your grandfather?
Yes.
Yes. Will you do another one with him someday?
Yeah.
Okay, he's going to be counting on you for that. Well, I want to say thank you, Noah. That's wonderful to show that community service. And how old are you? 9. Okay. Well, we're going to be looking for great things continuing from you, okay? Let's give Noah a round of applause. And again, Mr. Cribb, thank you. On behalf of the town and the Board of Selectmen, we are very, very pleased. We're continuing to make improvements that you can see with the handicap accessibility ramp, but the schoolhouse is near and dear to all of our hearts. So thank you for having noticed this. You came to us. Mr. Cribb lives in Dudley, but his grandson lives here in Oxford, and I want to say thank you for thinking about us and taking the time. This is really a wonderful craftsman piece, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
And now I'd like to introduce a person who was very instrumental in moving this schoolhouse and having it rehabbed to the point where it's at right now, and that is Paul LaRiviere.
Thank you, Jean. It's very appropriate because I doubt, except for the people I talked to earlier when I got here, very few know about the first raising of a flag over a schoolhouse. It happened in Massachusetts in 1812 in Coleraine, Mass, in the Berkshires. A man by the name of Asa Shippey was instrumental in doing and getting it going. He wanted to do something patriotic because there was a lot of people that were going more on the Federalist side. So he went, he told his wife, he worked with his wife, he sketched out from memory, because those flags weren't just flown by anybody back then in 1812, but he remembered what it looked like because he was in the militia. So he sketched it out, showed her what to do. Her and a woman made the cloth on their looms in their homes. And he went down to the local swamp. He cut down a tree, a pine tree, to make the mast. And in early May of 1812, him, along with the families that were in this section of Coleraine called Catamount, they went down there that morning and raised the flag over the schoolhouse. They inquired with the Historical Society in Boston and told them what they did, and they wanted to know, was it the first flag ever flown over a schoolhouse? They got back to him and told him not only was it the only flag flown over a schoolhouse in the country, but it was the first flag to ever fly over a public building. So if you want to know more about it, if you punch in on Google or something, Coleraine, Mass, you can read about it. Thank you.
And now I'd like to say a couple of words about the DPW. They're always willing to go that extra mile. And I have to give them a lot of credit for coming out on a Saturday morning to help lower the flagpole, which only needs a couple of people to do, and raising it up again. So thank you very much, fellows. The other thing that I have to add is long before the meeting with Mr. Gribb at the Selectmen's meeting, I received a phone call from a person, Bob Gribb, out of the blue. It was at the beginning of the pandemic, and many different businesses had closed down, so he had time on his hands. And he was going fishing back and forth to his famous fishing place, and he noticed that the flag was gone. The flagpole here was gone. I didn't know it had gone anywhere because I had been to the schoolhouse about a week earlier and the flagpole was here. But as he talked, it sounded legitimate that the flagpole was gone. And finally, I just started laughing and had to admit that the last time I saw the schoolhouse, the flag was here. But it had been taken down because it needed to be replaced. And we were very grateful to receive a phone call from Bob Gribb. He had already put a flagpole in at the Black Tavern, and some of us went to take a look at the flagpole at the Black Tavern, and he had done some other flagpoles, but they were very well done. And after consulting with the town administration, it was yes. We were very happy to have him offer a flagpole. So at this time, I would like to introduce Bob Gribb, and he's going to say a few words.
Thank you, Gene. You kind of stole my introduction on some of the history of how I called you. But yes, I did. I was during COVID. I was working less hours for a few months. So there's a gentleman in our office, a young project engineer, Nick Baisley, who we got to talking because we work late at night, and he says how he fishes, and I used to fish a lot. So he got me into trout fishing. So when COVID hit, I started going fishing at Carbuncle, and I was driving by and noticed, because I knew there was a flagpole here for years, and I always told my wife they really could use a flagpole. So when I saw the flagpole gone, I was less interested in fishing that day. I couldn't wait to get home, and cold called the Historic Society, Historic Commission, and about a week later, you might have to think about it, wonder if it was a crank call, but I got a call back, and the opportunity came up. I said, I got a great opportunity to top off this project, this long-standing project, and so we met and scheduled a date. It was September, but with COVID, things got delayed, and we did put it up with the help of the town employees here, these fine gentlemen. They did a lot of less work for me. They came and dug the hole and poured a lot of concrete. That pole isn't going to go anywhere for a long time. And so I thank you guys. and they're funny. They're funny guys.
Yeah.
But again, I'd like to thank everybody, and it was a real honor, and I keep an eye on it, and it should last for a little lifetime, 2 lifetimes. There's some maintenance, but it's we'll talk about that when the time comes. So.
Can you just tell us how you created the pole?
Yeah, how to build it. Actually, I got the idea. I was in my wife and I were at an antique store, and I came across a video, a Norm Abram video, 8-track, I think it was. 8-track? Not 8-track, VHS. And so I bought it, and I looked at it. Kind of looked challenging, yet simple. So I built one for our house, and so that's how I got the idea. So to build it, basically it's 4 pieces of wood, and depending on the length, sometimes there's an additional step to connect them together. Then when they're all together, I got 2 of them now I'm making now, trying to finish up. One's going on Cape Cod down in Orleans for Memorial Day, and that one's almost 30 feet long, and you gotta epoxy them together to get them straight. There's a lot of checking and measuring and pulling string lines. So once you got them cut, I have a long jig, 30 feet long, and I use epoxies to glue them together. It's a box, it's hollow inside, so you can look down the center. So then once it's taken out of the jig, we sand it down, we machine it, we round the edges, and you can see it's square for the first 6 feet or so, and then it tapers to a round, 3-inch round diameter, where we could place the 23-karat gold leaf finial, which we do that because the gold leaf doesn't patina.
Okay.
You notice that'll stay shiny for years and years, and you don't see too many birds sitting on it, so
No.
like other ones. So at least that's what I found out. And so there it is, and
Thank you.
it's got all marine paint, so I'd say in 5, 6, 7 years you keep an eye on it. I keep an eye on it too. It can use a freshen up. I did the one at our house is 20 years old, and I repainted it once so far. It's like new when you clean it. So thank you again. I
Oh,
won't
well,
take
thank
up
you.
your time.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you,
appreciate
Bob.
it.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Bob. So now at this point, this ends our little program, but the schoolhouse has been here since, well, it was dedicated in 1998, and it has seen many 3rd grade classes come through here, and many, many townspeople have come through here. So we are very grateful that it now has a flagpole that will last for years and years to come. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. The question is, why May 14th, when this is such a lovely day? Actually, May 14th has a lot of significance today. After the bombing of Fort Sumter on April 12, 1861 in Charlestown, South Carolina, President Lincoln called the states to raise 75,000 volunteer soldiers to meet the Southern insurrection. People in Worcester County started the 15th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry Division. It would be made up of 10 companies of 100 men each. Company A was Leominster. Company B, Fitchburg. Company C, Clinton. Company D, Worcester. Company E, Oxford. Company F, Brookfield. Company G, Grafton. Company H, Northridge. Company I, Webster. Company K, Blackstone. On May 14th, 1861, 87 men from Oxford signed to form the Oxford Company. 14 of those men had to sign with an X. Their signatures were verified by Nelson Bartholomew. Later, 13 more signed on, some from Dudley and surrounding towns to complete the company's requirement. They trained on what is now known as Jocelyn Park, where we just came from. In June, they moved to Worcester, where the regiment was formed. There they trained until the 8th of August. They then left for Washington, arriving on the 10th. They were assigned picket duty at Poolesville, Maryland, across the Potomac River from Leesburg, Virginia. On 10/21, they saw their first action at Ball's Bluff. We'll let the fire department have right away. Okay, they met their first action on 10/21 on Ball's Bluff. We now have one of the members of the 15th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry that was going to talk about the Company E from Oxford.
Good afternoon. Just let me struggle here with the haversack just for a second so I can reach in. My name is Tom Connell. I'm the captain for the 15th Massachusetts, and I am going to read to you a brief segment of the history of the 15th. The people of Oxford held a meeting on the 19th of April, at which the Honorable Alexander DeWitt presided. A committee was chosen to organize a company of volunteers, and by April 22nd, enough men had offered their services to assure the success of the organization. The town meeting, held on May 6th, voted to raise a sum not exceeding $4,000 toward paying the expenses of a volunteer military company in town, compensating its members, procuring uniforms, and aiding families. The company was called the DeWitt Guards, and the organization was completed May 4th under the militia laws of the state. May 6th, arms were received from the state. It was voted at town meeting on May 6th that the men be paid $1 a day for time not exceeding 24 days, provided the company be required to drill 6 hours each day, the first roll call to be at 8 a.m., unless the committee otherwise directed, and the last roll call at 6 p.m. This was a common vote in the other towns sending companies to the 15th. It was also voted to purchase a suitable uniform for the company. The uniform was received and the equipment received before June 1st. On this date, the DeWitt Guards visited Worcester. The Palladium said, "They're a hardy, able-bodied set of men," and as they marched through the principal streets on their arrival, their appearance was credible to themselves and especially to Captain Watson, under whose instruction they had been for the last 3 weeks. It is claimed that this company was, quote, the first organization in the state to appear armed and equipped in response to the president's call. While most of the original members were residents of Oxford, a few came from Charlton, Auburn, Millbury, Sutton, and other neighboring towns. In all, Oxford gave 62 men to the 15th at first and 20 more later. The company drilled at Oxford until June 28th under the command of its captain, Charles H. Watson, who had some previous experience in military affairs. On that date, it went to Camp Scott in Worcester, and the organization was afterwards known as Company E. As soon as the news of the attack of the Massachusetts 6th was received at North Brookfield on April 19th, great placards were prepared with words like these: "War, war, war." Our Massachusetts citizens have been murdered in the streets of Baltimore while marching on their way to Washington to protect the capital of our country. All citizens are requested to meet at the town hall this evening to see what might be done. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker we'd like to have is the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Roger Michael.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Today we are rededicating the Civil War Memorial here at Memorial Hall in Oxford. I'll be brief. Volunteering to essentially sacrifice your life is an undertaking that no man should ever have to take. The selfless service that these men and women throughout history have given to this country and to this town is amazing. Words can't even be found for it. There were 86 people who signed up on May 14th to join the Civil War. Volunteers who were leaving their families unknown if they would ever return again. There were service members as young as 14, maybe even younger, that joined the Civil War and perished. Now, Oxford does an amazing job with their memorials here in town, representing all the wars throughout the ages here in America. Lost my train of thought, I apologize. The memorials, sometimes they can be quite somber and breathtaking. But remember, it's a celebration of life, a celebration of the sacrifice and a memory that should be made for those, that built this town and this nation that we live in now. So it's a thank you that Oxford has done such an amazing job memorializing those that have served for this community and this nation. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to ask our Representative Joseph McKenna if he would come forward to the top.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. As Mike mentioned, Oxford has a proud history of honoring and remembering our veterans from all conflicts over the years. And just a couple weeks ago, we were over at the Legion Hall down the street here, where we dedicated a bench for those in the often less remembered conflicts that are more recent. We all know of the Civil War and World War I and World War II, but an Eagle Scout took it upon herself to dedicate a bench to the Gulf War and some of the more recent conflicts that don't always get remembered. And that is just a continuation of the proud history here in Oxford, the wonderful veterans organizations that do so much so that we never forget those who have gone before us to provide our freedoms. And I'm proud to spend some time this beautiful Saturday afternoon to rededicate the Civil War Memorial. And while we're remembering that event from 160 years ago, I do want to take a moment again to remember someone from just a few weeks ago, a good friend to the town of Oxford, a longtime member of the community and a very, very active member of the Veterans Organization, Richard Vinnie Vincent, who passed away just a couple weeks ago. That's a significant loss to the community. So if you join me in taking a brief moment to remember him and all that he did for the community. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. And once again, it's with sincere gratitude that I thank Terry the Legion, the VFW in town, and the 15th Mass Volunteers for coming out today for this rededication, just to continue the legacy that Oxford has of remembering and honoring its veterans. Thank you.
The tablets that we are rededicating today are right inside the doors. They have the names of 64 men from Oxford that passed during the Civil War. They were members of the 12th, 15th, 25th, and 36th Infantry Regiments. Died at Ball's Bluff: James Hilton, Joseph Jensen. Died at Andersonville Prison: Estes Baca, William Briggs, Patrick Holden, Patrick Hogan, Herbert Fuller, Joseph Fellows, Antonio Phillips, William Cady. Died at the Battle of the Wilderness: Daniel Childs, Francis Fletcher, William Robbins, George Davis, Bernard Schmidt, Felix Umberno, George Shortsleeve. Died at the Battle of Antietam: Amos Shumway, James Davis, Alfred Davis, Edward Ridge, Conrad Tower, Charles Wheelock. Died at Gettysburg: Owen Toner, William Cross, George Freeman. Died at Petersburg: Edwin Cudworth, Samuel Smith. Died at the Battle of Cold Harbor: Edward Almartin, James Barnett. Died at the Battle of Fair Oaks: Luther Tooney, John Tooney. Died at the Battle of Spotsylvania Courthouse: Henry Crock, George Williams. A number of people died in the Washington area, either due to wounds or sicknesses. They were Chester Smith, Valentine Sutter, Henry Hayden, Amos Newton, John Tully, Albert Forscott, George Bacon, Stephen Egger, Rufus Vicker, Christopher Vickers, Nelson Bartholomew, Cyrus Lerner, Francis Pope, Wyman Phillips, James Thompson, Albert Williams, Joshua Brown, and Jacob Childs. There were people that died in Oxford or in their home, either from wounds or from the sicknesses that they got during their fighting. John Dorr, James Adams, Edward Booth, Edward Ennis, Patrick Elliott, Albert Moffett, Elliot McKinstry, Vernon Ridge, and Jerome Southwick. I say 64 men from Oxford that passed during the Civil War. At that point, we will now have a town manager, Jen Callahan, will talk.
Thank you, Terry Cummings, who is really the one person in this town who makes sure, as part of the Honor Guard, that we honor our veterans. And he was the one who came to my office to make sure we were going to do this rededication today. As you can see above my head, this town hall was a gift from the town of Oxford as a memorial. It's inscribed fittingly in the brick, and it was with the hearts and the minds of the town citizens to make sure that this sacrifice that many had made during wartime would not be forgotten. The one thing that I can say is that the town of Oxford is really gifted. As a former trauma nurse, we all hear about Clara Barton and how important she is to the town of Oxford. But these war memorial plaques, I believe, would never have been done if we didn't have Clara Barton also as a resident and somebody who hailed from this town, who had seen what war was like and the sacrifices that the men in particular had made, but also the wartime women that were on the field tending to the wounded. It is with great pride as a nurse today to think about the legacy that she left and the way that she wanted to also memorialize the sacrifices that the veterans had made. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the fact that my predecessor, one of them, Mr. Powers, was an incredible man with a great vision to understand that these plaques were deteriorating and that they needed to be preserved in a way that citizens would be able to see that the memory endured and the heartfelt gratitude endured. And he did that by making this restoration project possible. As a manager, there's many things you can do for a community, but there's nothing more important, and this town understood that. The chairman of the board understood that, and the members of the board understood that even more recently as we restored our World War I monument and cleaned all of our other monuments. So today is another fitting tribute, and I'm very proud of the work that my predecessor had done to make this lasting memory. We have somebody in the crowd that both the chairman of the Board of Selectmen and also Representative McKenna wanted to acknowledge today. Mrs. Krasinskis made this actual restoration project possible. If you have an opportunity to go up and look at the actual plaques with the names that had been restored, you will see some intricate tile work. And both Mr. Krasinskis and his wife had actually taken broken tiles and replicated them, and that was not an easy task. It required an artisan's craftsmanship and mind to be able to put together layer upon layer to recreate those tiles in their own kiln right on Charlton Ave. I want to say thank you to you, Mrs. Krasinskis and Mr. Krasinskis. Let's give them a round of applause, because when you look at this beautiful monument, you will see the intricate work, and we're hoping to capture a little bit more about the process in the future, and I know our production media will do that. But I know all of the regiment here, I want to thank you so much for bringing us the real feel. You feel it most because you're in those woolen outfits that are uniforms, and I recognize it's a very hot day, but thank you for coming to the town of Oxford. Thank you, Terry Cummings, for keeping the memories of our veterans alive and well, and thank you for everyone who came here today. Have a good day.
Squad 1, aim, fire! 2, aim, fire! 3, aim, fire! Recover, arms! Shoulder, arms! Ready, aim, fire! Aim, fire!
I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. Our ceremonies have concluded, and like I say, hopefully during the week you'll be able to come into the town hall and look at these plaques and see what wonderful sights they are. Thank you, everyone.